Okay, so some random thoughts that I had while in Morocco. These ones are the ones that are from when I was going back from Essaouira to Marrakech. And the first one was, well, the context for the story was that we got some kind of tour of Morocco, well, of Marrakech, and of some cities nearby, for some like landmarks nearby Marrakech. And the guide threw us, we had some trouble with our guide, like he didn't deliver on some promises, and on this day when we had planned going to Essaouira, which is the city in the coast of Morocco, this one in the background, and he was supposed to take us there himself in his car, like privately, but he threw us in a bus and show us around the city himself, with him who talks Spanish, telling us the stories of the city and acting as our guide basically. But he didn't do that, so he threw us on this bus there. This is the context, and this is the first story that I wanted to tell. Was something that I was thinking on the way back from this event. So one of my friends was texting him, our guide, angrily, because we were going back and she was angry and she wanted to vent to him, I guess, and to ask for reparations, I guess, or something like that. And I was in the back of the bus. It was like one of those sprinters, a small one. Well, kind of I don't know, 20 seats, and I was in the back, and I was looking at my left. I had my friend, well, I can illustrate, I think. It was one of these sprinters, and we were supposed to be going in this kind of SUV. This one was the one where he took us, but it had this check engine light throughout the trip. This was the day before, a couple days before. And a couple days before, he had this check engine light turned on the trip. So, to some waterfalls, Uzud waterfalls. And he said, I'm throwing you in this bus because it's better for you to go in this bus than to go with me in my car with the check engine light, that we are going to have to be stopping all day. And it was I was sitting in the back. In the return trip, I was sitting in the back of this kind of sprinter, and I had to my right some Italian woman who spoke some Spanish, and spoke Spanish pretty well. And she was texting someone, a friend of hers or something like that. And I had my friend here to the left, who was texting our guide. She's doing some kind of emoji here, but she's texting some guy. The guide. This is a photo of her texting the guide. If you speak Spanish, you can see it. But so in this message, we had already paid everything, right? So it was, I don't know, $500 in total, or I don't know, for the week, for being driven around and taken to some kind of to these places and to be guided, right? And here she's saying, she's trying to get him to do something for us extra, right? You've thrown us in here, at least compensate us in some way, and I don't know, get us some kind of cool activity for Saturday, which we didn't have anything to do planned. The planning didn't have anything, so it was kind of she was trying to bargaining. She was trying to bargain with him in that sense, and also expressing frustration and saying bro, you've finessed us, and I feel like you've been laughing at my face, right? Something like that. This is what the text says essentially. And the thing that I wanted to think is that on the one hand, I was sitting back there. I had to my left, I could see my friend writing this angry text message, and then to my right I could see this Italian woman kind of rating to family members or something like that, or friends, something like, whoa, I had the best time in this city, it was awesome. And yeah, I don't know, it kind of like made me think, whoa, these are like two sensorily equivalent experiences, right? We went to the same city, we went in the same bus, we stopped in the same places because we stopped a couple of times with the bus in some like weird places, and then we visited the same city. We probably ate at similar spots. Maybe, yeah, maybe we ate some street food, and then I ate at a restaurant there. Well, it was someone's house essentially, but it was like a restaurant. And yeah, maybe she didn't eat in the same exact places, but she probably visited the same places more or less, right? And got to experience like the same fresh air in the city, saw the sea with the waves and all that, saw like the center of the city, which is like pretty picturesque. It's kind of like this is actually like an ugly street, because I only take pictures of the ugly stuff. But yeah, it was a nice place to be. It was cool. It was like a new experience, and the temperature was like really different compared to Marrakech, which is like fucking scorching heat, and this one was like cool summer breeze and all that. So yeah, it was like a really nice breath of fresh air and all that. But yeah, we were like pretty lost. We didn't like know exactly what were the cool spots or anything, because we didn't have someone to guide us there. So we just like explored, and that wasn't the plan. We didn't want to do that, I guess. Well, I personally didn't mind, but yeah, essentially we didn't pay some guy money for us to then go explore on our own. We would have just saved the money, right? So yeah, it's kind of, yeah, I thought of that, like, whoa, these text messages are different, and but the experiences behind them are like so similar, right? Even though the context is obviously very different also it's still fucked up. Yeah, it's kind of like weird how these two essentially equivalent experiences can have so different like reportings to other people, right? Then the next random thought I had in this trip back was in, yeah, we stopped like a couple times in the go trip and one time in the return trip. And in the return trip, well, and in the go trip too, we stopped at this place, which was essentially like some kind of rest stop, some kind of cafe rest stop in the middle of the, not in the middle of the desert, but yeah, kind of like in a small town, well, in a decent sized town, but yeah, in the middle of the road from this one coastal city to Marrakech, which is this big important city, right? And yeah, in the bus there were like the woman in front of me, the one from the text message, she was Italian, and she was talking to this other Italian guy who was, I think, from Morocco, like originally, but yeah, essentially he spoke Italian, I guess, natively, and he also spoke English and some Spanish and all that, right? And German apparently. And yeah, he was talking about how I know earlier that year he had been in the Merchuga desert, which is like a desert really in the south of Morocco. Yeah, so well, here the map is too small, but yeah, so Morocco is this part. the fuckers say that Morocco is all the fucking country, right? But yeah, but to us people who don't believe in those kind of things, Morocco is like this part, and Merchuga is in the bottom part of the desert. Well, it's probably easier with a regular map. Fuck it. Yeah, so Merchuga is like really fucking in the middle of the desert, right? It's like in the fucking Sahara. And Marrakech is like way inside. And there is like the Agafay desert, is a smaller desert here. I went to this desert, but I didn't go to this desert. And this desert is like apparently really fucking crazy, right? And this Italian guy was talking like really charismatically about it, right? He was like with the classic Italian gestures, and yeah, I don't know, he was talking in Italian, I could understand more or less. And yeah, basically the words he used were, I guess, like pretty basic. He said something like, yeah, it makes me feel so small, right? Which is kind of like, I guess, a basic thing to say, but I don't know, the way he said it, it's like it hit different, right? He had that storytelling ability in him. He had like the gestures, he had the energy, he had the way to tell the stories, and I liked that. And I don't know, that was some random thought that I noted, because I did like that. Something about how he makes that story hit. Not sure if the Italian charisma, or like maybe the fact that you could say that instead of the words being basic, he was being to the point, right? He was being like very specific about what he said, right? And maybe it was that which made the story hit. Or maybe it was like, yeah, I guess it's a matter of perspective. Maybe if the guy has charisma, you think, oh, this guy is using the words on point. But maybe if the guy doesn't have charisma, you're like, damn, he's using so basic words, so basic. He could give it a little more flair, right? I guess, yeah, it made me think about that, about like storytelling and that. And yeah, and also, as a side note, that I low-key understand Italian, because I understood this guy talking in Italian to to this other Italian person, and I was like understanding everything and like being like, oh, this guy is telling like this story so well. Then back in Marrakech, I have some more thoughts. I'm going to say them now because I guess it's chronological, but yeah, they don't make any sense like continuously. So yeah, the thought 3 of this video, I guess, would be that, I don't know, I didn't feel like family, I guess, because for more context of the trip, I went with 2 friends of mine who are 2 girls who essentially we all met in Germany when we were like in an exchange program, Erasmus it's called, and yeah, they are like really close. They were already in Germany very close, but they've kept being really close, and I guess they work together. They lived in different places, but now they live in like the same city because one of the girls moved to, yeah, not her house, but to essentially flat in her town, because now they two both work there, and yeah, essentially they know everything about each other essentially. And I don't know, I felt kind of like, I guess, the outsider, and they themselves said that they are essentially like sisters, and that they are family, and they talked about, yeah, returning there with the rest of their families, right? And yeah, I don't know, I guess I felt like really excluded from that, and I felt like, yeah, if they are family, I am clearly not family, you know. And yeah, I was feeling like down. I'm not sure if it was me like emotionally feeling down from all like the, I guess, slight letdowns of the trip, in this kind of guide sense, and feeling a little bit finessed and all that. But yeah, or if it was just that feeling like this kind of sense of fuck, like not belonging or whatever. But yeah, it was like another random thought that I had there. The next kind of thought, which is again kind of doomery, I guess, is that, I don't know, I had this thought of that I didn't want to go like back. It was like around the concept of real world, I guess. It was like both a sense of, I don't want to go back to the real world, I guess. After a trip, you get like hit with the sense that actually life is not like the trip, right? But also like a different sense of what real world is, that I wrote in my diary, that I will explain later. But yeah, essentially, like the anecdote of this is having, I guess, dinner in some rooftop like a couple of days earlier of when I wrote this. was in a place like this. Well, it wasn't in a place like this. It was there, to be more exact. And yeah, she was like, well, they between themselves, they were like, one of them was like talking to her boyfriend or something, or texting to her boyfriend, and she was like missing him a lot, I guess, or something like that, because it was like our first night there, and she was like pretty overwhelmed, and she said she missed him or something, and she said, don't have a boyfriend, you're going to miss him so much, right? And I said something like, yeah, oh my god, I'm so sad, like, that you have someone who loves you. I'm so sad. Like, oh, what a pity. 1 week of sadness of missing him and 51 weeks of being happy versus 50 weeks of sadness and 1 week of happiness, right? That was like what I said to her. And yeah, I found it. That was like the first day. So yeah, I was like, I guess, cheery and happy, and I could make those kind of jokes. And when I wrote this, I probably was like, yeah, I fucking meant it, I guess, right? It was like, that first part is that, yeah, I don't want to go back to the real world. I don't want to go back to the 50 weeks of, I guess, feeling disconnected and sad from the real world, right? And from, yeah, because that is my real world, I guess, feeling disconnected. And I guess, I don't know, yeah, isolated, I disconnected, alone, that kind of stuff. And I didn't want to like go back to that. And also, yeah, but I realized this in the trip, right? So it wasn't even like a week of happiness. It was like a half a week of like stimuli, half a week of like, oh, realization that these are stimuli, but that they come like attached to this like shady guy who finessed us, and also that I'm not really connected to the people with whom I went in this travel, and who I'm clearly like an outsider in the relationship, and I don't belong there either, and also that I don't really belong in the real world either, and that I don't, yeah, that me going back there, it's like pointless, and like all these I'm even going to like miss the stimuli. So it's like no stimuli, no connection, no anything, right? It was like feeling like that, I guess. Yeah, the next thing I wanted to say, which is like essentially the second part of the thought of this real world thing, is that it's my concept of the real world, I guess, has kind of been expanded in a lived way, right? I knew that these things happened and all that, and I've read about them and watched videos about them, but it's kind of different seeing it on your own life, I guess, and like being there and like feeling lost in those places, right? And like getting hit by this. And with this is, I mean that this kind of expanded concept of the real world, because on the one hand, I said I didn't want to go back to the real world, which by that I meant my real world, you know, me being in my house, living with my parents in this Spanish town and all this, and not being unemployed and all this. But then there is like another differences of what the real world is, which probably applies to like way more people in the world, which is like essentially this kind of I have it written here, I guess, like this kind of informal, illegible economy type cash-based society, really, small streets, busy things, illegible to strangers. You can get like tourist trapped and finessed because you essentially can't read like the signs, and people know each other, and everything is based on like this knowing people. The markets are kind of like strange, and yeah, I guess like there is like a lot of people living like this, I guess, right? Like living in really illegible, or like, I guess, more illegible to my Western, if you can call it that, taste or whatever, versus, yeah, way more illegible than that, right? Because in Spain, I guess, even if Spain is like famed for being like this kind of country of lazy bastards or whatever, I don't know, like shit actually works, I guess. And it's like, yeah, there are small markets and all that, but like you can go to like coffee shops and all these are not really that illegible. I guess it's all pretty clear, I guess, or at least it's clear for me. Maybe it's less clear and strangers get finessed. I don't know, but or like foreigners get finessed in every place. But I don't know. I feel like there is less haggling culture. There is like less of that, and you can pay with card in the small places and in small coffee shops too, more or less. Yeah, like I guess Spain is like kind of way more like that, I guess, compared to like Morocco, for example. Well, not Morocco, but like these kind of small streets in Marrakech where my hotel was. My hotel was in this kind of really small, it was a riad. I guess it's called riad. It was in this small street. Let's see if I can find something. Yeah, I'm going to say like it's kind of like I don't know. Even this is like too flashy and too showy and too like markety. I guess. I mean, way more like not run down, but I don't know, way less eye-catching and all that than this. It is, yeah. It looked really. I don't know. It looked sketchy, I guess. Not sketchy, but as in that you can see that it's not being polished for people to like take pictures at right. That you can tell that it's like a street where people live, and that happens to be like inside this Medina, which is a touristic part of the city, right? But it's like there are like 4 streets that are really touristy, and then like a couple of streets removed. It doesn't look touristy at all, right? It looks like really unpolished and really regular, and the places and all these are like you can tell that they are like cheap and that people know each other and people like kind of wave at each other and all this, right? That is like small neighborhood like kind of life. And yeah, I don't know. I'm not even sure what I wanted to say about this. Like, yeah, I guess something about like being kind of this, seeing this sense of the world which is, I don't know, this seeing like a state type of by was it James Scott? Yeah, James C. Scott. Seeing like a state. How like the opposite of that, like the really illegible part where people live like that. And I was kind of like when I wrote it in here, I wrote it in this kind of inspired legibility, and like these people are going to get legibilized, in which case having had this experience of like seeing it live and seeing how it goes, well, this is not experience, like this little taste of this is at least like it's informative in a sense, and it does inspire me to like try to learn more about this and try to like bridge the gap of the world, right? Bridge like this gap of like my understanding of the world and like how the world really is. It kind of, if I was here, it like pushes me to try to actually bridge it versus I don't know, before I guess I was curious and all that, but it's different having had the taste. And also if they I guess I have this kind of sense that pushes this it's so early my it's so early sense kind of gets enlightened, well, not enlightened, but like brightened. My it's so early sense gets tingled. I think, damn, it is so early. These people are either going to get legibilized kind of in these people will evolve to be more like, I guess, like what happened in Spain. In Spain, probably like a lot of time ago, you couldn't even like pay with card, and people were like finessing everyone and all that. And now, it's like I'm from Spain and I have grown inside essentially American media and all this shit, right? So it's like either that same shit will happen to them, in which case there will be more people who will relate to what I have to say, which is like kind of, and me having had that experience will connect them to me, and I will connect with them, and yeah, it will, yeah, like there is opportunity for the people there, and also this sense of like even if it doesn't happen, it's like me having had that taste allows me, I guess, to, I don't know, to like be further curious about that, and like to want to go back to that kind of environment, and I don't know, see how it goes, I guess, something like that. That's like the fifth thought, I think.